was 7 when my teacher first said the words that would haunt me for decades. She needs to speak up more. The red pen comments on report cards, the concerned parent-teacher conferences, the well-meaning relatives who pushed me toward the center of every room, all of them convinced that my quietness was a problem to be solved rather than a nature to be honored. Susan Cain's Quiet arrived in my life like a letter from home, written in a language I'd been searching for my entire life. This isn't just a book about personality types. It's a love letter to everyone who has ever felt broken for needing silence to think, for preferring depth to breadth, for finding their truest self in solitude rather than in crowds. Cain doesn't just defend introversion, she reveals it as a superpower that our loud world desperately needs: the ache of invisible wounds. There's a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from spending your life performing extroversion, and Cain names it with the tenderness of someone who has felt it in her bones. She describes the quiet child who learns to smile bigger, speak louder, take up more space, not because it feels natural, but because the world has taught them that their authentic self isn't quite enough. The tragedy isn't just individual, it's collective. We've created a culture that systematically undervalues the very qualities that produce our greatest innovations, deepest insights, and most profound art. Cain shows how many of history's most transformative figures were people who found their power in stillness, who changed the world not by commanding attention, but by paying exquisite attention to what others missed. The wound isn't in being quiet, it's in a world that can't hear the music introverts make. The sacred space of solitude. Cain rescues solitude from loneliness, revealing it as the fertile ground where creativity takes root and wisdom grows. She writes about the necessity of what she calls restorative niches, those precious spaces where introverts can return to themselves after navigating a world designed for different nervous systems. This isn't about being antisocial, it's about understanding that some souls require quiet, the way plants require sunlight. The most profound insights often emerge not from brainstorming sessions or networking events, but from the deep listening that only happens in silence. Cain helps us see that the person sitting quietly in the back of the room isn't disengaged. They're processing, synthesizing, preparing to offer something that could only be born in the spaciousness of their inner world. The courage of quiet leadership. The revelation that shattered everything I thought I knew about power came when Cain described a different kind of leadership, one that leads by listening rather than talking, by drawing others out rather than dominating the conversation. She shows how some of the most effective leaders in history were people who influenced through their depth rather than their volume, who created space for others to shine rather than demanding to be the brightest star in the room. This isn't weak leadership.